Hi, everyone. Welcome to Leaders Talks. I'm really excited for today's conversation. I'm joined by Craig Patav, founder of Ascension Growth and Innovation Strategies, a management consulting firm based in Atlanta that has been helping global organizations drive profitable revenue growth for well over a decade. What makes Ascension stand out as the sheer depth of what they've built, a full proprietary methodology called AIMS, and a product suite of over 25 branded tools covering everything from sales enablement and competitive intelligence to go to market optimization and private equity due diligence. Craig, welcome.
Thank you very much. It's good to be with you.
So, Ascension's tagline is driving revenue growth through better customer engagement. That's a very specific pairing, not just growth and not just customer experience, but the connection between the two. When did that become the lens through which you saw every client problem?
Well, actually, we've evolved our tagline. It is now from insight to impact. And the idea being that if we can understand the marketplace and the financial dimensions of what a growth program needs to look like, what does a profitable customer look like for our clients? If we can understand the financial dimensions of the environment that they compete, and at the same time use market research to identify exploitable gaps that our clients can fill, maybe positioning gaps or product and service, gaps in the marketplace, we can help them to implement growth programs that drive measurable, impact from a financial standpoint. So from insight to impact, the more you know, the more you can craft a meaningful and targeted growth program. And then we typically will help our clients execute those programs over anywhere from 6 months to 5 years, depending on the relationship.
And AIMS is the strategic framework that sits underneath everything Ascension does:
Yes,
analytics, insights, marketing optimization, sales enablement.
exactly. We think of AIMS as the strategic levers of growth. If you don't understand analytics, financial dimensions of your client's business, if you can't identify, using insight mining or really market research, exploitable gaps, if you aren't communicating in a strategic and compelling way, the value delivery, the differentiators, and the reasons for being for your client, and you're not really enabling your sales team, focusing them, compensating them properly, training them properly, and holding them accountable, you really can't drive measurable, consistent top line organic growth. So we call it AIMS because it really touches on all four of those areas.
And when you're coming into a new client, which of the four pillars do you usually find is the most underdeveloped?
Typically all of them. They haven't taken the time to study the analytics side of their business. Many of our clients don't realize that up to 80 or 90% of their customers may be unprofitable. They're running their business on a very small percentage of their customer base. So we'll typically unveil some of that. And then sometimes it's embarrassing for them because they just haven't had a chance to look at it. They're so busy fighting the fires of day-to-day business activities. Insight mining, typically they don't do a lot of research, and they haven't. And if they do it sporadically. But we believe it should be done every year to identify how you're perceived, what your customers' needs and wants are, and where there are opportunities to fill their needs going forward. Strategically, their messaging is often higher. It could date back decades, and it isn't baked into how the competition is positioning themselves or what makes our clients special. So the messaging and the positioning will have to be tweaked, oftentimes pretty dramatically. And then finally, the sales enablement piece. Most sales organizations hate oversight and they hate accountability. And many companies don't extend those things to them. So we find that many salespeople are not very accountable. They're not very focused. They don't get much, you know, results in the marketplace, and they need to be trained. They need their compensation adjusted, and they need to be much more accountable and face the music on a regular basis, at least quarterly, where management is asking tough questions about what's happening on the ground. So it's really all four areas. It's our job to ask questions and uncover where in those areas are there issues, and then structure a framework upon which we can help our clients.
You've built over 25 service products, each
Yes,
with its own name, its own positioning, its
right.
own use case. Performax, Revenue Predictor, GTM Optimizer, Prospect Shadow, Insight AI. That's a serious investment in producing what most consultants leave as bespoke work. What made you go that direction?
Well, what we really did is we branded them with names. We didn't trademark them or anything, but we did give them names and we are using them commercially. But they're really clever ways to describe solutions to growth problems that many organizations have across multiple industries. So we've been solving these growth challenges in all probably 8 or 9 different industries. And what we did is we took some of the approaches, we gave them names, and we are able to use knowledge transfer to take a solution that worked in one industry and apply it with a few tweaks to another industry. And we just decided that this was a great way to market our capabilities by giving them clever names that describe the value proposition and the benefits that come from these kinds of executional growth, strategies.
You have dedicated private equity offering, Jumpstart, Calibrate, PE, Newsmaker. That's a specific decision to serve a specific buyer. How did
Yes.
the PE practice come together, and what does Ascension bring to that relationship that a typical strategy firm doesn't?
We've been around for 25 years. We're celebrating our 25th year anniversary, but we've worked with private equity for about 15 or 18 years. And private equity is rapidly growing in the United States and worldwide as a different form of ownership with different views of the world and different objectives. Private equity typically doesn't hold on to a portfolio company for more than 5 to 7 years in most cases. And then they'll typically sell it or flip it. So you've got to understand how private equity works, what they care about, and we've been doing that. We probably work with about 10 different private equity organizations and about 15 or 18 of their portfolio companies that they own. And these range from companies as small as 20 million in revenue to companies that may be up to 150 million in annual revenue. So we decided to really start to promote that we understand private equity. We work with the CEOs of their portfolio companies. They'll typically hand us off to the leadership team of the company, of the managers that are responsible for running those companies. And we've gotten pretty good at helping those companies grow during that 5, 7 year holding period and ultimately drive significant growth. In fact, I was just telling another company, we work with a safety products company that we started when they were 30 million in revenue. 5 years later, they were 150 million in revenue and they were successfully sold. And the CEO credited half of that organic growth to the work Ascension did over that period of time with them. So we can help our private equity firms accelerate their growth and become an extension of the limited leadership team that they have in these organizations. We work very hands on. We don't just give recommendations, we help implement programs and become an extension of that leadership team working directly with marketing, sales, and operational people on staff.
So, what does staying through execution actually require of you and your team?
It requires that we appreciate the operational challenges of making things happen, number one. It requires that we understand how companies work and their resistance to change, and it's a natural human reaction to any kind of change. And it requires that we build the trust and faith of key executives up and down the organization who will see us as trying to help and trying to help them do a better job. We're not there to expose them for what they're not doing. We're not there to cost them their jobs and eliminate their jobs. We're there to help them be successful in their jobs. And so that's the biggest challenge when we go to work with a really any organization and we get down into the mid level where we're helping execute programs rather than just making recommendations.
When execution stalls on a client side, how do you handle that without losing the relationship?
Well, we always say that the most important thing any consultant can bring to their client is objectivity and honesty. We're going to see the baby for what it is. It's not always as beautiful as the clients think. So, our job is to identify where there are issues and honestly and compassionately share those thoughts with recommendations on how to address the issues. And the issues will always come up. Things don't always work as smoothly or quickly as you would like. So it's our job to be part of that team and come up with suggestions and ideas and many times resources to help address the barriers that pop up along the way.
Insight AI is one of your newer products. You've been building data and analytics capability for a long time, but AI is clearly changing what's possible. How are you thinking about AI's role in the work? Is it a tool that makes your existing products faster, or is it changing what the products actually do?
Well, it's a little of both. Inside AI is a different form of market research that uses natural language processing to anticipate and analyze what people are saying in chatbots, in forums, in their customer service responses, and kind of predict how they're going to behave in the marketplace based on their positive or negative sentiments about a company. So it uses an AI tool to do massive analysis of natural language, comments, feedback, etc., and start to develop some trends and some recommendations on where there are issues and what companies might do to address those issues without actually people don't always come out and say what they think. This is a way to figure out what are they thinking based on what they say. Other AI tools that we use are more about improving our approach. We use a lot of AI tools in developing original content for our content marketing programs. whether they be ebooks, short form videos, slideshows, infographics, things like that. A lot of AI being used to aggregate, quickly publish those kinds of content elements. We're also using AI to analyze and optimize our email and social media outreach and media planning. So we see it both as a tool, and we also see it as a product in many respects that we can remarket and repurpose for to address client challenges.
Looking ahead, Ascension has built a lot, deep methodology, a large product suite, a PE practice. What's the next frontier for you?
Good question. The next frontier for us is to figure out, where do we go long term? We've got about 50 consultants on the team. We only have a few senior people capable of running it. So we're always getting inquiries to be purchased or to be merged. We're also always looking for more senior people who are entrepreneurial and want to join our organization. So I think we're pretty focused on keeping clients, growing our client base, and thinking about future in terms of our staff and our ability to keep the business running long term. 25 years is a long time to grow a business from nothing. Now the question is, how do we get to the next step and sort of get to that next level financially that we'd like to be at?
And what specific challenges are you seeing?
I think the biggest challenge for us is there's a natural tendency to eliminate cost. Many consultants, even the biggest, what I call white shoe firms, the McKinseys, the Bains, the Boston Consulting Groups, are laying off thousands of people. We're a small boutique organization that's very nimble. We still face the same headwinds, the same companies think they can put a person on staff and give them a couple of automation or AI tools, and they can do what we do on the outside for them. Not really. They lose their objectivity when they're on the inside. As I mentioned, objectivity is really important, and that's something that I think gets short shrift by a lot of companies. So, I think to stay fresh, to come up with new ideas, you kind of have to be on the inside. You have to work with other companies beyond just one, and you have to see the world, as it is rather than just as you see it from the inside. So our biggest challenge is convincing companies that one person on the inside can't do what an organization like ours can do across all of the aspects of our AIMS model.
Well, Craig, thank you so much for sharing all of your insights today. I find them incredibly valuable. The AIMS framework, the prioritization philosophy, and the commitment to staying through execution. There's a lot here, and I think our listeners are going to appreciate it. So thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you, Elena, so much for the opportunity today. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.